Simplified speech number 166.
Simplified speech number 166.
Table manners.
Table manners.
Featuring Andrew and Suzanne.
Featuring Andrew and Suzanne.
So Suzanne, today our topic is table manners.
So Suzanne, today our topic is table manners.
Why don't we start our conversation off by talking about some of the common table manners that we follow in North America?
Why don't we start our conversation off by talking about some of the common table manners that we follow in North America?
Why don't we start our conversation off by talking about
Why don't we start our conversation off by
some of the common table manners that we follow? Conversation off by talking about some of
the common table manners that we follow in North America.
Of course,
you and I, we are both North Americans, right? I'm Canadian, you're American. I'm Canadian,
you're American.
Canadian,
and I think
you're American. I'm Canadian. I'm Canadian, you're American.
Right? I'm Canadian, you're American.
You're American. You're American. I'm Canadian, you're American.
And I think our table manners are pretty much exactly the same in the two countries.
In the two countries.
At least when I visited America, never noticed anything that's really different in regard to table manners.
I've never noticed anything that's really different in regard to table manners.
But Suzanne, you've lived in both countries, so maybe
you've lived in both countries. But Suzanne, you've lived in both countries. But Suzanne, you've lived in both countries, so maybe you have.
Would you say they're pretty much exactly? Would you say they're pretty much exactly the same in that regard?
Would you say they are pretty much exactly the same in that regard? Would you say they are pretty much exactly the same in that regard?
Yeah, I really do think so. I
really do think so.
I think everyone washes their hands
for sandwiches and things. We use our hands, but for the most part we use forks and knives and things like that, napkins.
It's really generally
the same, I would say. Yeah, I really do think so. I think everyone washes their hands for sandwiches and things. We use our hands. But for the most part, we use forks and knives and things like that, napkins. So it's really generally the same, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't noticed any differences in regard to table manners between Canada and the USA. But that's not to say that there aren't from other countries. But that's not to say that there aren't some differences.
But that's not to say that there aren't some differences from other countries, right?
Differences from other countries, right? But that's not to say that there aren't some differences from other countries, right?
But that's not to say that there aren't some differences from other countries, right? But that's not to say that there aren't some differences from other countries, right?
I know in Europe and in Asia and Africa.
I know in Europe, I know in Europe and in Asia and Africa and
In India, all of these
places
places
have
different
different etiquette
rules
and
around
different
eating
rules around
and what is
eating
polite
and
and
what is polite, what is considered rude.
So
So
maybe
maybe we'll start just because we do have a global audience. Global. Because we do have a global audience.
Global audience. We have listeners
Global. We have a global audience. We have listeners
from
all over the place.
So
maybe we should talk a little bit about what is polite in our culture, Suzanne. So what kind of table manners come to mind when you think of this topic? What pops into your head?
Well, definitely making sure that you wash your hands before you eat or before you come to a table. Maybe before you eat or that you before you come to a table. Well, definitely making sure that you wash your hands before you eat or that you before you come to a table.
Well, definitely making sure that you wash your hands before you eat or before you come to a table.
Maybe you're meeting a friend for dinner at a restaurant.
Maybe you're meeting a friend for dinner at a restaurant.
I tend to excuse myself and say, you know what, I'm just going to watch.
I tend to excuse myself and say,
you know what, I'm just going to wash my hands real quick.
You know what, I'm just going to wash my hands real quick.
And make sure that I don't bring maybe the metro or whatever else I touched onto the table. I think that also going through the pandemic really helped to emphasize having clean hands.
So that's definitely something that we do here. And people do put like the napkin or paper towel or whatever they give you on their laps. A lot of times, not everybody, but it's pretty common that people put things on their lap to protect the clothes and just to kind of make sure that you don't drop any spaghetti sauce or anything like that on your lap.
Especially someone like me who is kind of a messy eater, that is a must. Do that for sure. But I have to say that especially someone like me who is kind of a that is a must.
Who is kind of a messy eater, that is a must. I need to do that for sure, but I have to say that when it comes to bring a napkin or something on my lap, I usually only would do that at the restaurant. I don't usually do that at home.
Do you ever do that at home?
Do you ever do that at home?
No, I don't.
And I see people wear aprons like while they're cooking.
I say that because I'm a messy cooker.
I say that because I'm a messy cooker.
I definitely
splatter things and
spill while I'm cooking because I just really love cooking and I
just really love cooking and I get in the zone. I get in the zone and I get in the zone. I get in the zone. I get in the zone. I just really love cooking and I get in the zone and
don't
really
think
think
about all of
about
the
all of
mess
the
that
mess
is
that is
happening.
happening.
And I
I
see
see
people wearing
people wearing
aprons at
aprons
home,
at
and
home,
I
and
don't
I
do that,
don't
and I
do that,
have
and I
them, and I
have
should
them. I
use
should
them, and
use
I think I
them.
would be a
I
lot
think I would be
happier
a
because
lot
I wouldn't
happier
splatter
because
my
I would
clothes as
splatter
much.
my clothes as
But
much.
I don't
But I
use
don't use
napkins
napkins
on my lap
on
at
my
home.
lap at home.
Okay, and it's
Okay,
funny
it's
that you
funny
are
that you
talking
are
about
talking
being
about
a
being
messy
a
cooker.
messy cooker.
I just
I
actually
just
had to
actually
throw
had to
out a
throw out
couple
a
of
couple of
t-shirts
t-shirts
because
because
they
they
got
got
stained
stained
when
when
I
I
was
was
cooking
cooking
at
at
home,
home,
and
and
I
I
was
was
saying
saying
to
to
my
my
wife,
wife, I
I
need
need
to
to
buy
buy an
an
apron
apron
because
because
I
I guess
guess
I
I
am
am
also
also
messy
messy
cooker.
cooker
I
and
could protect and
save
save
my
my
clothes.
clothes,
So
so it's
it's
just
just
kind
kind
of
of
funny
funny
that
that
you
you
brought
brought
that
that
up
up
because
because
I
I
was
was
the
the as well.
so it's just kind of funny that you brought that up because I was just thinking about that the other day as well.
Suzanne,
One thing also that you said that kind of sparked a thought in my head was about washing your hands before coming to the table. Many listeners will know that I live in South Korea, and one thing that they do here in South Korea
is they always give you something that they do here in South Korea, which I really
Many listeners will know that I live in South Korea, and one thing that they do here in South Korea, which I really love, is
they always
they always give you a wet tissue when you come. They call it water tissue in Korean language. I don't know exactly what we.
maybe a wet wipe. They give you like
I don't know exactly what we would call it in English. Maybe a wet wipe.
a wet wipe when you
They
come
give you like a wet wipe
to
when
the
you
table
come to the
wash
table to
your
wash your
at the
hands
table.
at the
I haven't
table.
really noticed
I
too
haven't
many
really noticed too
restaurants
many
in
restaurants in
that do
Canada
that,
that
but
do
I think
that,
it's a
but
great idea, and it just
I think it's a great idea, and
is a nice way to make sure
it just
that you
is
are
a
speak
nice
and
way to
span
make
before
sure
you enjoy your
that you are speak and span before you
meal.
enjoy your meal.
That's
That's
wonderful. I
wonderful. I
remember
my
my
grandmother
grandmother
actually
keeping some of those
in
in
her
her
purse
purse and
and
handing them to us as
handing them to us
kids
as kids
because kids
because kids
have dirty
have
hands
dirty
most of the
hands
time.
most of the time.
So,
So
yeah,
yeah,
that seems like a really good idea to
that seems like a really good idea
kind
to
of keep it
kind
in
of
your
keep it in
bag or
your
your
bag
backpack
or your
just in case,
backpack, just
especially
in
if you're
case,
traveling
especially if you're
or on a
traveling or on a
backpacking trip
backpacking trip
somewhere.
somewhere.
That
That
could
could
be
be
a really good
really
thing to
good
take
thing
with
to
you.
take with you.
When I think
When I
about
think about table manners, the first thing that pops into my head is about how you actually deal with the food when you're putting into your mouth. So, like when you are chewing and how you essentially behave when you've got food in your mouth, right? Like that part of eating process. So being no-nos, in my opinion, for like being polite at the dinner table is never to chew with your mouth open, right? You want to keep your mouth closed. So
people what's inside your mouth, and also you want to keep your mouth closed so that you're not
you want to keep your mouth closed so that you're not showing people what's inside your mouth, and also you don't want to be like loud, right? That sounds that comes out of people's mouth when they chew with their mouth open. It's really just gross, right?
It's gross.
It's
And
gross.
also,
And
one
also
thing that
one
can
thing
help
that can
with
help
that is
with
to
that
not
is to
talk while
not
your mouth is
talk
full,
while
right?
your
So
mouth
if
is
you take
full,
a
right?
bite, at that
So if you take a bite, and then
someone
someone asks
asks
you
you
a
a question,
question,
right.
it
it
can
can
be
be
challenging.
challenging.
Maybe
Maybe
you say like just one second,
finish chewing and
finish
then
it chewing,
you
and
can
then you
answer
can
their
answer
question
the question
because
because especially if you're out to
dinner
dinner
at a
at a
restaurant,
restaurant,
you
you
there
are there
probably
probably to have conversation.
So you
So
have
you
to
have to
kind of
kind
time
of
your
time your
conversation
conversation
around your
around your
bites
bites of
so that
food
you
so
don't
that you don't
spit any
spit
food
any
out
food out
onto the table.
onto the table. Yeah, and another thing, Suzanne, is slurping. When you're eating your food, right? Like if you're eating pasta or noodles or soup or something, in general, we want to try and keep the noises down. That's considered to be polite table
Yeah.
manners in
And
Canada.
I wanted
And
to
I
ask
wanted
you,
to ask
Andrew,
you,
do you
Andrew, do you
ever
ever
lift up
lift
your
up
bowl
your
to
bowl
like
to like
finish the
finish
end
the
of
end
your
of your
soup
soup
or
or
drink the
drink
end of your
the end
soup?
of your
Is
soup?
that something that
Is that
you do?
something that you do?
Yes.
Yes.
But
But
okay,
okay,
this
this
actually
actually
comes
comes
into
into
the
the
different table
different
manners
table
when you're in
manners
public and table manners when you're
when you're in public.
manners when you're in public and table manners when
And
you're at
table
home.
manners when
Because
you're at home, because I think
at home
at home I
I
definitely do that.
And
And
I've
I lived in
for so
Korea
long
for so
that I
long that sometimes just go by the Korean way of doing things. That's not like super rude to do that in Korea. Like I see people do that as. And I was at a restaurant yesterday meeting my friend for lunch, and we had a little bowl of soup that was on the side with our main meal, and they didn't even give us a spoon or there one spoon on the table.
You were just expected
You were just expected to drink that little cup of soup right from the little bowl that it came with. So I do it at home and I do it sometimes in Korea, but it's really like restaurant specific. And I think if I were in Canada, maybe I wouldn't do that if I were at a nicer restaurant. I would think
Yeah,
that's
I hear you.
a little bit too
I guess
much.
it depends on the restaurant. Yeah,
Yeah, I hear you.
I guess
I
it
guess it
depends on the
depends on the
restaurant.
restaurant. I asked because it's not something I ever did
at
at
home or in
home
public,
and in
but
public, but
Olivier,
Olivier, my
my partner,
partner,
he
he does it
and they
and
do that in
they do that in
France.
France.
And
And sometimes he does that in a restaurant as well. And
I just always
I just always watch him like, huh, I never do that, but I think it's fine. It's great. It kind of means like I love it so much I want to get every last drop. And it was just a question because it was something I noticed that I was not used to, but that seems totally acceptable.
I like
I like what you just said there. That is that when you drink your soup, and especially I think we do this at the end, right? When it gets hard to scoop up the soup with your spoon, usually that's when you start drinking it. It's not often that you get.
just drink it right away. But it's not often that you get like a big.
It's not. It's not often that you get like
hot steaming bowl of soup.
A big hot steaming bowl of soup.
And just drink it right away.
And just drink it right away.
But when you're towards the end, then it's more convenient to drink it.
It does show that you enjoy it, right? You're like really enjoying your meal, and that's something that I've noticed in Korea. There are some slight differences about what's polite at the table, what's rude at the table, and I think in both cultures generally you don't want to make too much noise or disgusting with your eating, but I have noticed here in Korea that if people are eating a little bit louder or like slurping their noodles or maybe drinking their soup or something like that, it's kind of showing that you really are enjoying your meal.
People will comment like, wow,
and people will comment like, wow, this guy is really enjoying his food, like it must be so delicious. So it's just like a different viewpoint, but it's interesting. That's fascinating to hear that they do that in France as well. Yeah, I think it's similar to my family, my Italian family. If you're eating it kind of fast, then it means that you're
really
enjoying it,
right?
right?
Like it's so
It's so good.
You
You want to really
just
just
devour it.
devour it.
Whereas
Whereas when I go to
they eat
France,
very
for
slow.
example, they eat very
They
slow.
take a bite,
They take a
put down
bite,
their
put
fork and
down their
knife,
fork and knife,
chew it,
chew it, maybe look at you, listen to a story, take another bite,
Oh, really?
put down.
It's
Yeah,
very
it's very
slow.
slow.
Wow.
And that was something that I was
surprised
surprised at when I was
France and
when I first went to France and ate out at dinner
even
or
at
even
my
at my
house.
mother-in-law's house. I was very surprised at how slow people ate, and they don't have large portions.
So they're really
So
savoring
they are
each
really
bite
savoring each
in a
bite in a
smaller
smaller
amount
amount
and
and in a slower
pace.
pace.
That's
That's
probably
probably a much better way to eat in terms of like digesting your food properly and not overeating. I could also see that being a little bit uncomfortable
meeting your partner's parents for the
if you're meeting your partner's parents
first time
for
or
the
something
first
like
time
that.
or
You had to
something
eat
like that.
really slowly,
You
like these
had to
tiny
eat
little bites,
really
and
slowly, like these
get the food down slowly, depending on the social
tiny little bites, and get the food down slowly depending on the social arrangement of the dinner party. It could be
I think,
maybe more awkward, but I think
I'm not a doctor, but I would think that that's
I'm not a doctor, but I would think
healthier way
that it
to
has
eat
a
than,
healthier way to eat than
sometimes the way that we do in
the
North
way
America,
we
where
do
just
in
eat
North
a
America,
lot and
where
we
we
eat quickly.
just eat a
It's true,
lot
and I
and we eat quickly. It's true, and I
notice
notice
also
something different about the French culture when we are out to dinner, because my family American and Olivia's family is French, and we had some instances over the past years where we've been together at dinner, and I noticed that they wait until everyone gets their food at a restaurant to begin eating. And this is not something that is in all of North America as far as a cultural happening. Like most of us don't wait until everyone is served because the food is hot, and so kind of go for it and just start eating. But with French people, they tend to wait till everyone is served, even if they are waiting like 5, 6, 10 minutes. So it can be a little shocking if you're like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have taken that bite. Sorry about that, everybody.
If your food
If your
comes
food
out
comes
first,
up first, then you might be put in a different you might be put in a different difficult situation. Totally. Now you can pick on your French fries. That's okay.
It's just like
Okay,
can't dive
just
into the main
like dive
course.
into the main course. Totally, that's it. That's what I
So
noticed.
that's interesting.
That's interesting because personally, maybe this was just like my family. We always followed that kind of same system
where we'd wait for everybody's
where
food
we'd
to be
wait for
served, and
everybody's
it's always
food to be
considered to be
served,
a little
and
bit rude to jump in and start eating.
it was always considered to be a little bit rude to jump in, start
Usually
eating.
in that situation,
Usually in that situation, the other people will kind of
that they are
burdened that they are making
Can you wait?
you wait. So they will say, just go ahead,
Tuck in.
tuck in. You don't have to wait for me. But without that permission of the other person, and it always felt a little bit rude. So I've always followed that as well. But that's caused some problem for me now that I'm living in Korea, because usually in Korea it's like the head of family, or maybe the head of a company. Whoever is like the top dog in the line of command. Once they start eating, then you can start eating. So, for example, when I meet with my wife's family, it's my father-in-law. He's kind of the head of a household. So, once he starts eating, well, then we can follow after him. But often what happens when I go for dinner at my in-laws' place is that my mother-in-law will always be always be just busy in the kitchen.
Won't sit down at the table.
She won't sit down at the table.
Still be like
She
cooking
will
and bringing
still be
food to
like
the
cooking
table,
and bring food
that
to the
kind of
table,
thing.
that kind of thing.
And my
My
father-in-law will just
father-in-law
start
will just
eating,
start
and
eating,
then
and
I'm
then
put in a
I put
difficult
in a
place
difficult place because I think it's kind of rude to start eating
my
when my
mother-in-law is still like
mother-in-law
cooking
is
and
still like
preparing things.
cooking
So
and
I feel like
preparing
I need to
things.
wait
So I feel like I need to wait for her.
for her. But then my
But then my
father-in-law will tell me,
start eating, come on, let's go.
So I'm
So
kind of
I'm
stuck
kind of
in the
stuck in
middle
the
of
middle of
like my
like my
culture and
culture
Korean
and
culture,
Korean
and I don't know
culture,
what
and I
is
don't know
best to
what
do.
is
But
best to.
obviously, since I'm in Korea,
I don't know what is best to do, but obviously since I'm in Korea, I try to follow the Korean rules, even though that gives me a slightly uncomfortable
Yeah,
feeling.
I just thought
I
of an
just thought
idea.
of an idea.
You
You could jump up and say, "Here, let me help
and then
you,"
maybe you can
and then
help her
maybe you
get
can
to the
help her
table
get to the
faster. So
table
that
faster. So then,
believe
believe
me,
me,
I've
I've
tried
tried
and
and
that
that
doesn't. I
doesn't
just get shooed away.
I've tried and that doesn't fly either. It just gets shooed away very quickly.
But I like your
But I
thinking.
look.
I like that idea.
But I like your thinking. I like that idea.
Yes.
Yes.
Suzanne,
How do you feel
about
about technology at the
Oh,
table?
wow.
Oh,
Good
wow,
question.
good question.
It's
It's interesting because I think with the pandemic, a lot of restaurants had menus that are QR codes, so you needed your phone out, and some still do that. Where we went to a restaurant last week,
to have our phones
so you needed your phone out, and some still do that. Where we went to a restaurant last week,
out in order to look at the menu.
where we needed to have our phones out in order to look at the menu.
And
I don't love it. I kind of like keeping my phone away where I'm eating, just to have a break from the notifications and the distractions. How about you, Andrew? What do you think? It's interesting that you brought that up because I was recently back in Canada and I noticed that at restaurants that suddenly on the table there are these QR codes, and some restaurants won't give you a menu anymore. They just expect you to open the menu on your phone with the QR code, and I didn't love that. It felt a little impersonal to me. Like it's nicer for the it's nicer for server to come and greet you and say hello, give you the menu, and also you've got a very good point there. That it kind of forces you to take your phone out and deal with your phone right from the start, right? So if everybody in your party is taking out their phones and all looking at the menu, well, then you're not really having a social interaction with each other. So I can see how that could be handy from the restaurant's perspective, but from my perspective, it's not that great. And in general, I think that just a really rude thing to do is to be glued to your phone while you're dining with someone else. So I always try as best as I can not to look at my phone. I'm not perfect about that. And especially when your phone is your pocket and you feel it vibrate and you've got a new message, like it's really tempting, but as much as I can, I try to leave my phone away from the table so it's not bothering me. And when I eat at home, I usually just put my phone like in the bedroom or something while I'm eating dinner, so that I can have a conversation with my wife. It's like a really good time to connect and to speak with each other. is when we're eating dinner or lunch together. So I try my best to not be one of those people that just eats and looks at their phone the whole time.
Olivia and I are not.
Yeah, Olivia and I are not so good at keeping our phones away during dinner at home. Sometimes it's hanging out a little bit, but usually it's in the other room, at least, but sometimes it isn't.
Sometimes it is on the table near us.
Sometimes it is on the table near us, and it's like, oh, don't look at it, you know. So I hear you, but we usually watch a show. Like it's the only time we really watch TV is when we eat, which I realize is also just another kind of screen.
And in a way,
yes. We're connecting because we're both are like laughing, looking at each other, and giggling about the show or whatever. But we're not talking about maybe a topic we need to talk about, like a project we're working on or a plan we want to put in action together.
So
yeah,
it's not the
best.
That habit is not a good table manner habit.
That habit is not a good table manner habit.
I will say that my wife and I also started doing that. Actually, pretty recently.
We were really good for a long time about having zero technology at the table, but the iPad has somehow sneaked its way to the table, and we are like,
should we watch a show?
Should we watch a show?
And then we started.
We don't do that all the time, but yeah, from time to time we do eat. And actually, every Thursday we do that to be specific, because there's one show that we'd like to watch together. Comes out on Wednesday night, so we watch it at dinner every Thursday. So at least once a week we do that. Yeah, it's fun. I can't say there's anything wrong with it. Suzanne, I got one question here for you before we wrap up. And
I don't know if you have an answer for this or not.
I don't know if you will have an answer for this or not.
Or if you want to share your answer about this question or not. But the question is, have you ever been in a situation where someone's table manners were so bad that it affected your enjoyment of the meal? Yeah.
I would say
there's two things that come to mind. One was when I was on an airplane, so that's kind of a little bit difficult because you're flying, you're eating out of these little containers. It's not ideal to begin with. You're in a tight space. But one time I was sitting in the middle seat. Olivia was on the end, and there was a gentleman next to me, and he was talking to his friend across the aisle, and he was putting his face literally over my food,
like just
talking across me and Olivia to his friend on the other side of the aisle, and didn't care that I was like, I'm eating here. Excuse me.
Like personal space. So that
excuse me, like personal space.
That was tough.
So that was tough because you're kind of trapped. It's not like you can call the waitress over to another table. It was like, okay, I'm stuck.
Yeah, you got no outs
in that situation. You just sort of have to deal with it.
So I had to just say, excuse me.
Yeah, and so I had to just say, excuse me, sir. Can you please stop? Or you can switch seats with him. If you want to speak with your friends, you can change your seat. We're happy to switch. It was quite rude. So that was one of them. Another one was we were hosting friends at the time.
Needless to say, they're not really friends.
And another one was we were hosting friends at the time. Needless to say.
friends of ours anymore, but
they're not really friends of ours anymore, but
at the time
we had friends over for dinner, a few couples, and one of the guys between dinner and dessert just put his foot
up on
the table.
His
His bare foot
just up on the
table.
On the kitchen
On the
table?
kitchen
The
table,
dining
the
table.
dining table.
Yeah, so we only have like one large dining table, and
we only have like one large dining table.
we're all sitting
We were
around
all
the
sitting
table,
around the table.
and
We are digesting between dinner and dessert.
and he just
He just
puts
puts
his
his
foot.
foot.
I was gonna say like as if it was his house, but
as if it was his house.
be honest,
But
I
to be
wouldn't do
honest,
that in
I
my own
wouldn't do that
house.
in my own
It was
house.
almost like he was
almost
alone
like
watching
he was
Netflix, and he just
alone
puts his
watching
foot on the
Netflix and he
table.
just put his
I was
foot on
like,
the
oh
table.
my gosh, you're
I was like, oh my gosh,
at
you're
somebody's
at somebody's
house
house who just cooked you
Yeah.
We're
dinner.
waiting for
We are
dessert.
waiting for
What are you
dessert.
doing?
What are you
Like,
doing?
nobody
Like
wants to smell your
nobody
feet.
wants to smell your feet. That is really interesting because I feel like that.
No.
I feel like that is just a no-no.
Probably everywhere. That's
everywhere
like
that's
globally kind of
that's like a globally kind of
accepted
thing that you
keep
wanna try and keep the
kitchen table,
the dining table as clean as possible.
After you're walking around,
and after you're walking around,
putting your feet on the table is like,
and then putting your feet on the table is like,
yeah. Wow. How did your guest react?
I don't know. I mean,
his girlfriend,
well,
now it's his wife, seemed to be
now it's his wife seemed to be
okay with
it. And then
there were two other people there that kind of looked around at me, but everyone knew.
But
each other well.
Everyone knew each other well, so
I don't know if
they were like,
well, that's just him. Maybe they
that's
don't. His personality.
Maybe they know that that's his personality.
But for me, I was
really offended.
Yeah, I would be mortified in that situation.
Yeah, I would be mortified in that situation.
I don't know how I would react. That's wild.
I don't know how I would react. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a much
more extreme story that I was expecting to hear.
But it made me laugh, so
I have to thank you for that.
I won't mention
his name in case he's listening. We've decided to keep the conversation going for just a little bit longer here for all of our members, just as a way to say thanks to all of you for supporting us. So Suzanne, I've prepared three rapid fire style questions for us to talk about here that are all related to table manners. And the first question, Suzanne, is: have you ever been in the situation where maybe it's like a fancy dinner at a restaurant and they give you lots of different cutlery or utensils, and you're not sure about how to use them or which one to use or in which order to use them? Have you ever run into that situation? For the most part, the basic
two
forks, spoon, knife, and like little spoon on top, which that I can pretty much figure out. I do recall like a small fork
that's like
really
tiny
that I was like, I don't know
what this is
for.
I don't think I
ever learned it.
I don't know where I was.
What it was for. I don't know where I was.
It might have
It might have
been at a
even been at a
hotel,
hotel,
like at a
like
British-inspired
at a
high
British
tea,
inspired
and there was a
high
small
tea,
fork.
and there was a
It
small
may have
fork.
been for a
It may
jam.
have
I
been for a
honestly don't
jam.
know. I never used it. It just
I
sat
honestly don't know. I never used it. It just
there,
sat
and I
there,
kind of just
and I kind
looked
of
around
just
and was
looked
like,
around
oh
and
well,
was
I guess
like,
I'll
oh well, I
just
guess
ignore
I
it.
will just ignore it. I will just ignore it.
Recently, well, not recently,
Well,
but
not
up until
recently,
like
but up
maybe
till like
3
maybe
or
3
4
or
years
4
ago,
years ago, was
never
never that big of a seafood person.
But
But
that's changed.
that
I've gotten
changes.
into
I've got into
seafood
seafood in a big way over the last 4 or 5 years. But before that, I wasn't. And I remember one of the first time that I ate lobster. I didn't really understand what all the utensils were for. Like I had it here in Korea. And I think actually I've never had lobster outside of Korea, so I don't know if it's the same in North America. But they gave me scissors and they gave me this big stick, like this big poking stick.
My wife for help. I was like,
and I had to ask my wife for help.
What am I supposed to do with these scissors and this poking stick?
What am I supposed to do with the scissors and this poking stick?
But actually, it seemed like a really efficient way to eat lobster.
Like you just use the scissors to cut the shell, and then there's this stick so that you can poke the lobster meat out of the shell. But that was a situation where I really felt to use another seafood kind of metaphor here, like a fish out of water. Like a fish out of water. I didn't know what I do, and I had to ask my wife to show me the ropes because I just didn't get it. And I have a question.
When we were talking about messy eater, did you wear a lobster bib?
I think I did. Yeah, actually, it's really common also here in Korea for many restaurants to give you like a little bib. So because I am one of those people who tend to drop food more often than I would like, I pretty much always wear the bib just to be safe.
Yeah,
that's great.
Okay, rapid fire question number 2.
Do you think it's necessary to have good table manners in informal settings, such as at home, my family, or with close friends? Is it okay to drop the formality a little bit and just to go wild?
Or should you have good table manners all the time?
Or should you have good table manners all the time? I think you can really relax your table manners at home
and not be so formal. But I think it could also be important to have.
But I think it could also be important to have
a comfortability with maybe the
roommates you live with, or maybe
your partner or friends, so that you aren't in any way. Well, let's put it this way. You're not like putting your foot up.
Let's put it this way. You're not like putting
up on the table,
your
right?
foot up on the table, right?
You're not offending anyone.
You're not offending anyone. You kind of maybe have the same level of comfortability, and you can enjoy a meal together without feeling like you have to be formal, or that you feel grossed out or offended. So I think it's good to kind of be yourself in those situations. That's kind of how I live by, I guess.
I think the thing is...
Yeah, I think the thing is, if you're hanging out with your family or close friends and you're doing something that bothers them, they're
tell you right away.
They're gonna definitely tell you right away. They're gonna
like, hey,
hey,
that's gross.
That's
like,
gross.
cut that out,
like
right?
cut that out,
you can
right?
sort of easily find where the
You can sort of easily find where
limits
the
are
limits
in
are
that kind of
in that kind of
situation.
situation.
And definitely, I think this is just
natural. Everybody is a little bit
when they're
looser
around their good friends.
when you're around their
If
good
I'm hanging
friends.
out with my
And
buddies and we're eating pizza,
if I'm hanging out with my buddies and we're eating pizza,
I'm probably like
I
laughing
probably
and
like
joking
laughing
around
and
and not
joking
worrying about
around and
eating with
not worrying about eating
my mouth
with
closed
my mouth closed as much as I would be around practically everybody else in different situations. So there's definitely
a
a little bit of
flexibility
depending on your environment and
I agree.
context.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree. Okay,
let's do our
let's
final
do our
rapid fire
final
question here.
rapid fire question here. And
I guess, Suzanne,
I
you
guess,
already
Suzanne,
actually
you already
answered
answered
this
this
earlier.
and the question is how do you handle situations when someone at the table is not following proper etiquette or table manners? Do you say something or do you ignore it? And I think we know that you are someone who
and say, excuse me.
I think we know that you are someone who would just voice your opinion and say,
could you not do that?
Yeah.
Excuse me, could you not do that?
I even have
a good friend who
is like one of my best friends,
and they do talk with their mouth full, and I don't think they
realize in a way.
I don't think that they realize in a way it's something subconscious. They just talkers. They love to talk and they continue doing it even while they are eating.
And I have to say things to them
all the time. I say,
hey,
you're talking with your
but
mouth full.
I'm kind of in that second rapid fire.
But I'm kind of in that second rapid fire question.
I'm a very close
friend, so I feel very comfortable telling them you're kind of spitting your food out.
Just finish eating. It's cool.
Can you just finish? Can you just finish eating? It's cool.
And they usually are like, oh my gosh, sorry. So,
oh my gosh, sorry.
I think if you feel comfortable with those close friends, it may be a little bit easier
to tell them
than if it's just an acquaintance or someone you just met.
If it's just an acquaintance or someone
that might be a little bit
someone you've just met, that might be a little bit more difficult.
Unless it's very overt and they're putting their feet on your table.
I feel like that's definitely something you can say. Yeah. Can you please put your foot down? Thanks. You're not 5 years old.
I think
I've never actually been in the situation where I felt compelled to say something. Not that I would be against it, but I just have been in the situation. But I think if somebody really pushed the limits about what is acceptable or unacceptable, then I would say something.
When you're with your close friends.
And of course, when you're with your close friends, you can say like, hey, stop chewing those potato chips so loudly. It's annoying.
But to strangers, it's harder,
right? Thankfully, I've never really been in that situation where somebody's annoyed me to the point where I have to say something.
Well, Suzanne, that will bring us to the end of this bonus content.
I want to thank everyone for listening and great job on completing an English study session here with Suzanne and I today.
And now we'd like to throw
and now we'd
like to throw things over to you.
You've heard what Andrew and I have to say about table manners, but we'd like to know what you think. So share your opinions with us and the Killers community by leaving a comment on our website, Killers.com. Don't be shy. Andrew and I can't wait to hear from you.
Okay, everyone, take care, and we'll talk to you next.
That's right. Okay, everyone, take care, and we'll
next time.
Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.
that brings us to the end of this lesson. Until next time. Bye.